So now let's talk about the Shepperton outtakes. Yes, I'm talking about footage that didn't make the original release and features a lot of 1974 shots, some 3.5 minutes to be exact. The 5-hour Led Zeppelin DVD was released in 2003 with never-before-seen MSG 1973 tracks. While The Ocean had just a few Robert Plant close-ups, Misty Mountain Hop clocked at 4.5 minutes with only 55 seconds of Shepperton material. The irony here, of course, is the fact we didn't see Jones's wig at all, but 1973 hair captured many times. It's like the film crew was obsessed with it. There's 37 seconds of real Jumble Jones hair and close-ups that makes you wonder if the production team at Shepperton couldn't bother to check this film reel and create a better wig. It's just wicked to think so many great angles were shot from Misty Mountain Hop, yet it didn't make final cut. Now we can think the 2003 version was made with digital editing, and it further pushes the theory that the Zeppelin camp must have a lot of Shepperton studio outtakes in their archives. The idea of recording split-second bits just doesn't make sense. The 1974 footage starts off with Jimmy, followed by this weird Bonzo snapshot where you can see that strange hairstyle. More back shots of Jimmy go back to Bonzo on what looks like a drum solo of sorts. More red light style Jimmy, and then one of my personal favorite cinematography choices that you wish the whole film would follow. Then a brief but revealing close-up of Bonham's hair, and these must be extensions or something. It doesn't look real. We get more Jimmy and Robert with bits that look like they were taken from Dazed and Confused. Another Bonzo shot, and again, the hair looks funny. What's your take on it, guys? Leave a comment in the section below. Next, we get a 9-second shot where you can help to wonder if filming was done throughout several days or weeks. It seems the lighting work was better here than other parts from the movie. This shot of Jimmy Page deserves the Hall of Fame of Zeppelin visuals. Stunning colors. We get more Jimmy followed by Plant in what seems to be a scene from the Rain song. More Page with red tones a bit overexposed, followed by repeated Dazed and Confused footage, and this one from Rock and Roll. Zeppelin fans were treated with a 2007 expanded edition of The Song Remains the Same that contained Misty Mountain Hop, The Ocean, a surprising version of Celebration Day with no Shepperton stuff, and Over the Hills and Far Away with the most Shepperton material out of all the songs they captured. 2 minutes and 45 seconds of 1974 stuff spliced in with New York City footage. This of course further pushed the idea of long Shepperton sessions and raised the eyebrows of many fans who, like myself, wondered about the original movie edits. We begin with an obvious cinematic shot of Jimmy waiting on Robert's introduction. Cut Robert slowly walking to the stage, back to Page with a timeless purple light above. To my eyes that's purple, or is it red? I think it's purple. Then one of the most unusual Shepperton bits available. We can see Bonham carefully waiting for the cue as Page walks through the clean guitar passages. Robert looks to the sky for inspiration, then a 21-second sequence of Jimmy rocking that slick lighting choice. This is great cinematography. Check out Robert singing here, and how they cut to New York City in a painfully obvious contrast may have been a strong reason to discard this originally. But why were they so invested on this song? Let's remember it was a heavily promoted single released back in May 1973, so it's safe to think they really wanted to get this right despite the massive footage gaps by the time they reached Shepperton. If you really think about it, the album they were promoting on this specific tour, Houses of the Holy, was not really captured that well on film. We have tiny bits of No Quarter, The Song Remains the Same, and the Rain song. The Ocean was the only one with true potential, and I'll say it again, it should have been in the 1976 movie. So back to Over the Hills and Far Away. The main challenge here was to match the rhythm section lighting to Plant and Page. Both got a lot of screen time here, and there's actually a scene where Jones's wig didn't stand out that much. Here's the wig again. Hello wig, prominent wig. We get more shots of Robert plus Bonzo's 1974 hairpiece via close-up. Both Shepperton and MSG have similar lighting choices, so the edits do feel smooth. For all Jimmy Page fans, these shots really augment the stage power of his outfit, especially the Matador-style jacket that underlines why it was such a vital part of the music armor. Here comes the wig again. Hello wig. This is wicked. You can really see what a bad idea this hairstyle was for continuity. more Jimmy Page by Jimmy Page. Some of these guitar solo sequences may have been used for Dazed and Confused, like this one, and this one for Whole Lotta Love. So the footage does bring more questions than answers as to how many cans of film they had to go through for the final movie release. Editors for the 1976 release truly deserved an Academy Award and a huge pile of money. Once you go through all of this, your eye is fully trained to spot the Shepperton material instantly. Now this song in particular may be over Sheppertoned, and you feel the crew didn't really capture anyone outside Page and Plant. Here's John Bonham's hairpiece again. I'm calling hair extensions on this one. The thing just doesn't look like 1973. Great slow-mo of Jimmy here, plus a random shot of Jones, with a lighting choice that seems to be taken from this Black Dog portion. One last visual, Bonham closes the song and the urban legend grows. Was this his real hair? A hairy situation, but Jones's wig was an absolute truth. When I released my Shepperton analysis, I thought I had finally mapped out every single reshoot for The Song Remains the Same. Every camera angle, every dolly move, pieced together like a puzzle. But then I read a detailed comment from my man Led Zepp Film, a dedicated Zeppelin researcher here on YouTube who does incredible work syncing bootlegs to rare 8mm footage as well as restoring them. And he spotted something I didn't. Extra subtle Shepperton shots hiding in plain sight. They're not massive omissions, as I covered most of the material, but you know, as a completist, you go crazy over stuff like this. They add extra layers to the story, and they quietly prove just how seamless the editing really was. So let's set the record straight. Turns out Shepperton's reach was even wider than I thought. In my original breakdown I said there were no studio shots for The Song Remains the Same, nor Moby Dick, but a couple of inserts slipped past me, and honestly, they fooled me too at first, which shows how good they were at blending Madison Square Garden and Shepperton in very specific places. So let's dive into it. First clip is no quarter. Robert sings the lines to "Close the door, put out the light, you know they won't be home tonight." The hint that gives it away is the blue light on the left side, which doesn't resemble the actual stage design in 1973. It's a bit too close. The controlled close-up shot plus the darker than usual lighting makes up for a great scene, but it was in fact Shepperton. Look at the next scene in New York City with Jones and then back to Robert, and yeah, you can tell it's not the same venue. Okay, next is The Song Remains the Same. Page's hair is visibly shorter and the duplicate image effect gives it away. This is a soundstage moment that also captures Robert to the side of the stage. We get more shots of Plant singing the lyrics, and the slightly different body mass index to 1973 is noticeable, as well as the studio lighting creating the warm tones to capture the performance. They do a quick cut from New York City to this Shepperton bit where the yellow light has no traces of green. The shot continues with Robert singing the movie's theme, Honolulu Starbright. The song remains the same. We get one last shot of Robert fade to black just in time for the Rain song, which features this dolly shot that captures a cinematic close-up as Plant sings the final notes on the song's finale. Now you're in for a shock. Bonham's drum solo, Moby Dick, has what I believe to be 6 seconds of Shepperton footage. We have this shot from above, but I think this is actually New York City, as his hair doesn't seem as static as the alleged wig he seems to have worn at the studio. This type of hair moves like natural hair does. Check out this next sequence with a more static hairpiece, and look how it cuts to the no sticks build-up just in time for a clever cut back to New York. Here's the sequence again, and I'd say this was quite brave by Bonzo to mime this performance. I seriously think this is the alleged wig. Next we've got Whole Lotta Love with Jimmy Page moving to the crunchy sounds of his Les Paul, and we can spot the Shepperton camera right here. Also we can see the film crew in the back. I think this spinning sequence probably inspired Page for his Outrider album cover art, and maybe, just maybe, Rory Gallagher's 1978 record, Photo Finish. Now a couple of things I mislabeled as Shepperton on my previous video. The keyboard close-up portion from Since I've Been Loving You was shot on the third night, July 29th. Jones is not wearing the wig, so my bad. This is actual New York footage. It's wigless Jumble Jones. Last but not least, we have Whole Love with this quick cut from Shepperton to actual MSG 1973 with Page and Plant singing the song's chorus. I want to thank my friend Frantic Dav, who got his hands on one of the Led Zeppelin DVD menus to find many treasures, including this quick shot of Page during Dazed and Confused, a great close-up of his wah-wah pedal, which could very well be New York 1973. Judging by the light, it could be The Ocean or Dazed and Confused finale, but it could also be Shepperton. This is the source of online debate. Next, we have some video editing booth of what seems to be Since I've Been Loving You.
A journey out of the extraordinary into the fantastic.
And now my final thoughts on Shepperton. After 2 episodes of dissecting this material, one thing stands out above everything else. Continuity was the project's greatest enemy from the very start. Lowering the stage lights at Shepperton to accommodate the cameras while raising the mirrors completely shifted the visual language. The foundation of the storyline was compromised before it began. Recreating Madison Square Garden should have been done in a venue that at least felt like a real arena, not a film studio. They could have booked Earl's Court in 1974, but their entire lighting rig was still in America via Showco. So maybe the better move would have been to fly back to the States and shoot a closed-door performance in a mid-sized arena. But here's the thing, the MSG 1973 recordings themselves were just too good to discard. Jimmy Page knew what he had on tape. He wasn't about to stage a brand new performance like Pink Floyd did at Pompeii or Genesis at Shepperton. Instead, the visuals were forever chained to Jimmy's Best of 3 Nights audio compilation, and that dictated everything. This project was destined to be a patchwork. This wasn't about getting the best visuals to go with the music, it was about finding the best recording portions and then looking for footage that matched the intention. Whenever haters criticize the film, I just wonder, have they even heard the soundtrack album? So what's next? Stay tuned because I'll be diving deep into the New York City footage, identifying exactly where each piece of film really came from. You don't want to miss it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.